What is up? It is me, Ewan from What Culture Star Wars, and we are here to talk today about the most recent installment of The Mandalorian. Chapter 14 gave us the return of Boba Fett and the abduction of the child, setting up a big doozy of an episode directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Chapter 15 sees Din Djarin and the gang recruit Migs Mayfeld to locate Moff Gideon's Starcruiser to rescue Grogu. What ensues is a fun, heist-esque adventure that turns one of Mando's more insignificant characters into a genuinely interesting presence. With me today to talk about the episode is none other than Ben-Roy Turner. Say hi, Ben-Roy.
Hello there, not hi. We don't say hi.
We don't say hi, the galaxy far, far away. No, we don't.
It's always hello there.
I need to condition it out my brain. But Ben-Roy, what did you think of Chapter 15?
So I came into this straight away, and banging there, the judgy critic eyes, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Are we going to have another sort of side quest? And inherently it was, but it turned into one of my more enjoyable episodes of the series. Like, as soon as we got going, within the first 5 minutes, I was hooked in. I was strapped in. I was ready to go, and I was into this sort of plan of Mando and Mayfair. Is it Mayfair?
Migs Mayfeld.
Migs Mayfeld. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm rubbish today. Mando and Migs Mayfeld going into an Imperial base to get some information. Like, it's the simplest of plots that sometimes work as well as they do, and all you need to do is just have that simple outlining, and it goes from what we expect to just be, just a little bit of a heist, to delving into what I'm going to call the Imperial guilt, and delving into not everyone in the Empire, or everyone who has been in the Empire is just a reckless space Nazi. In fact, most of them are actually just humans.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. When the episode was starting off, and I did think it was I thought a lot of the dialogue was a little bit cliched. The whole framing and setup felt a little bit kind of boring to me and predictable. And obviously, something being predictable isn't, a bad mark of a mark of a bad story or anything. It's just that, it's in anything, it shows that the writers are doing their job. But I definitely agree with you. This episode grew on me. And I thought that Migs Mayfeld kind of just stole the whole thing. We had some great action set pieces over the course of the episode, and I must say I'm enjoying Boba Fett and Fennec being a part of the cast again. Seeing them all in the Slave One is never going to get old to me, and especially just hearing Tamura Morrison's dulcet tones come out of Boba Fett's armor, which gets a nice little cleanup for this episode, I should add. It's the cleanest Boba Fett's armor has ever looked, and that's really cool. But yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, the episode they recruit Migs Mayfeld after he's working on some sort of scrapper heap dismantling TIE fighters, and there's some interesting tension between him and obviously Cara Dune, because she was a former rebel shock trooper and Migs was on the side of the Empire during the Galactic Civil War, and we get lots of cool, like you say, a look into Migs's character. And when we saw him in season 1. That particular episode, I forget the chapter title or even which one it occurred, but the heist episode where they go in to bust out what's his face. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I think Migs as a character really, I'm really interested by him now, and I wonder, having watched this episode now, whether this is the beginnings of the Rangers of the New Republic potentially. Could we see Migs, in that moment where he kind of, when he reaches, he gets into the officer's mess, and Din is kind of looking at him as he's trying to bluff their way through, and he slowly gets more and more angry with this Imperial officer who he served under during Operation Cinder, which is obviously a massive, we're talking about events post Return of the Jedi in terms of the Empire's collapse. Cinder is like the coup de grace. We see it in Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's the Emperor's last stab before he kicks the bucket, where they basically just genocide multiple planets.
And I can't have it, no one will.
Exactly. And I thought the character performances in the episode were really good. Like we mentioned, Bill Burr as Migs was a definite highlight. But I also thought the guy who played the Imperial officer was really good too. I thought he had a great presence to him.
Yeah, Richard Brake is always a really sort of... He's normally a bit more seedy and not more greasy than this.
What else has he been in?
He has been in the Doom movie. He has been in The Kingsman, Hannibal. I don't know, Hannibal 2007.
One
Hannibal
of my
favorites. Yes, he's also in Free from Hell, so he replaces one of the family members in that. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Okay.
But,
well, I thought
Mandy as well. That's the only one I said. He's in.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I thought he was really good. As terms of like a short-lived Imperial character, he made one heck of an impression. And like that moment where Miggs basically turns around and decides that he's just gonna. It reminded me a lot of Django Unchained when Schultz has had enough with Calvin Condé and just blows him away and just kind of says, you know what, screw it. Forget the consequences. This guy is a real piece of work, and I'm gonna provide some restorative justice right now. And again, I just thought Miggs as a character, this episode completely transformed me and won me over, and I thought that was probably the best thing about it.
And and also his logic into this, it just shows like a different perspective on things can change everything. Like we've not even touched on the bit I'm just going to bring up now. Din having questioning having to change out of the Mando uniform and don the Stormtrooper uniform, and then questioning, well, is it really the same? What are you doing at this point? Are you because you were meant to not take the Mando helmet off, right? But you're just covering your face. So what's going on here? And questioning these values, like many things, is it all just down to interpretation? And maybe one side interprets it this way and another side interprets it this way, but maybe it's a bit more like this, or maybe we should all be a bit more chill about things.
Yeah, it kind of, to me, it built off some of the themes we saw in The Last Jedi, when we get introduced to DJ's character in that, and, we go to Canto Bight and we see that, the arms dealers of the galaxy, they don't really care who's in charge as long as they can kind of sell weapons. And there's the kind of that similar element here where you have the Empire mining rhodium, something I've completely forgotten.
I think Ridium,
Ridium, another Star Wars mineral to add to the collection of Star Wars minerals. But
explosive one.
Yeah. I just thought, I thought that was really clever. I love it when Star Wars delves into the nuanced side of things. But yeah, let's talk about Din, because I thought this was an interesting moment from him as well. And it's always, I'm never going to complain about seeing Pedro Pascal's beautiful face on camera because he's great. And it was just, I enjoy how far he is willing to go to get Grogu back right now. And again, building off what we saw in the last episode where, he was having that internal debate with himself, even if he didn't quite realize it, of, the Mandalorian creed or letting Grogu go or whatever. And now here, he's beginning to realize what's important to him. And that is, of course, his adoptive green son and how he is willing to sacrifice all tradition, because tradition will mean nothing if you lose your loved ones. And I thought the threat at the end, you won't get this reference, Ben-Roy, but there's a really good Batman comic called Batman Year One. Okay. And there's a fantastic moment where Batman gate crashes like all the corrupt people of Gotham and gives a big speech about how he's going to make their lives live in hell. And I love that. It kind of reminded me a lot of that. And I loved seeing, there's something very powerful about seeing Din Djarin just go up in a hologram and see Moff Gideon squirm just a little bit.
When he repeats Moff Gideon's opening lines, pretty much in the end of the first season, you see Moff Gideon sort of oh God!
Oh, was that? I completely forgot the dialogue that was in.
This is something very important to me. Yes, it's pretty much almost word for word what Moff Gideon says in that episode.
Wow, I didn't spot that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why he was kind of like an ooh sort of thing. I mean, I was already like, oh, because Moff Gideon's on the screen, but then when I see that, and oh, this is like a nice twist of fate. Like now he's being hunted, even though he might have this sort of superior firepower, death troopers, and God knows what else he's got on that ship there, because it's like a mini cruiser, so it's no small fry. But it's because this is heading up to the last episode.
Yeah, I was about to ask, do we even know how long the next episode's going to be?
You would hope almost an hour.
It has to be a meaty one, because the way it was going, I kind of thought it was going to be a 2-part finale almost.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm curious immediately to know where Gideon is going. You got to assume that it's Camino or something to do with Pershing's, origins and that kind of area.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious to see whether or not we get a fight on Star Cruise. I want to know who's going to come into this finale. We have so many different characters that we have met in this series, and we have so much left to resolve. We have the whole Darksaber thing with Bo-Katan. We have Boba's arc that's kind of coming into play now as well, which is just really exciting, and it's also a little bit disappointing in the sense that we only have one more episode to go, and we're already fully aware that not everything we want to see resolved is going to get closure.
But that's good. That's the sign of a good series, right? Because now, if you think back to it, we had I would say one episode that I would say was, and like the rest of them have been like living up to, and they've all been building on each other and making each one of them sort of feel more valuable. I think that's probably because each episode we go, oh, this character's in live action, and like they've always bring in something else back in there, and they've left things over our heads. And it's like the Mandalorian has so much substance to it now, and it's sort of like skirting around. And it's weird because like you've got to feel like if they do like say a 39-minute episode and they do something like major, like for God forbid they kill off Boba Fett or something like that, I would.
Oh mate, no, they can't. I've already people have already said that, or people have already been speculating online that maybe now the Razor Crest is kaput, Boba Fett will realize his full arc of like, oh, I could never, I've tried all my, I don't want to. Maybe he'll sacrifice himself for Din because he sees himself in Grogu and doesn't want to see another father figure die like he had with Django. I mean, that is a clever way of doing it, but you can't bring back Boba, make us all love him, and then do that. My heart would break into a bajillion tiny pieces.
Turn the most non-character sort of basically a toy into a character. Like, I mean, he was ruthless and he was all this sort of thing, but we didn't really have any sort of meat to the bone, and then take it away from us. That'd be such a horrible sort of turn. But you could almost see it happen. But like, you've got to imagine that he sticks around, or he's like, I'm going this way now. See you later, sort of thing.
Well, yeah, no, we've had. Obviously, there was the Disney investor call. If we'll have, I imagine it won't be live yet, but we have a big breakdown of all the big Star Wars announcements coming to What Culture Star Wars. So keep your eyes peeled for that over the course of the weekend. Should be out by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we got 2 new Mandalorian spin-off announcements, and for a while now we've had the rumored Boba Fett spin-off. Deadline reported on it earlier this year. And it was conspicuously absent as a part of Lucasfilm's presentation yesterday. However, I would not be surprised one bit if it comes to be a part of Rangers of the New Republic. And I only say that because, obviously, from what we know of Boba Fett's character during the original trilogy in terms of the current canon and the comics and other expanded material that has currently been fleshing out his character in between episodes 4 and 5, which is where the main Star Wars comics have taken place for the most part, apart from recently where they've gone to between 5 and 6. Fett is ruthless, and the Empire just happens to it's a convenience for him. He's got a lot of anger. He's very ruthless, and he takes his anger out that way. And we see him, obviously he's the one who informs Darth Vader that the pilot who blew up the Death Star is Luke Skywalker and stuff. I think Boba will have evolved to a point now look, being in the belly of a Sarlacc will change things to you. It'll do crazy things to your brain. And I do think right now that maybe he has enough of a personal stake in this fight that he becomes a sort of freelancer for the New Republic. And maybe these Rangers of the New Republic type thing could be him and Fennec taking down bounties in the Outer Rim for the new, hunting down, almost do it like Aftermath, where you're hunting down Imperial war criminals. That would be really interesting as well. But where do you see Boba's destiny lying? We've just talked about how he could potentially be killed off, which I really don't want to happen, but it seems feasible the more and more I talk about it. Or do you see him having an appearance in Rangers, or maybe even the Ahsoka show?
It's weird because I feel like some of these are going to end up with Cara Dune, because I feel like she's some of like Boba Fett's got to be on sort of like a record somewhere, right? There's got to be sort of like things like he's wanted in these systems and sort of thing. So
I think they'd recognize my face.
Yeah. And I can't remember what the co-pilot was who turned up for a second episode, sort of like, walking around like a traffic warden. Sort of like, you could come in I reckon he would know Boba Fett straight away and be trying to arrest him as well. So I feel like we're going to have to, maybe him and Cara Dune is it Cara Dune? Yes, Cara Dune. Are around for a little while. I think it's stupid to kill him now. I think it's too soon, man. But I think the Rangers of the New Republic is probably the smart thing to do. Like bring in some heavyweights from this show and then let them bring it in, nurture it, and then let Boba maybe sort of like spit off after that. There's no the scope is limitless right now. I know we always talk about it in Star Wars, and it kind of feels like small galaxy syndrome with all these characters we kind of like sort of know so well. But when characters like Boba has been around forever and in canon dates back to the Attack of the Clones, we still don't know that much about him.
You've just made me, I forgot to mention how great that moment was in this episode where they dropped the most satisfying. Star Wars has a lot of satisfying noises, right? Whether it be the lightsaber, blasters, whatever. The TIE fighter screeching noise or the TIE fighter blasters. I'm sorry. The concussion mines that the Slave One drops is like ear smut. It's ear smut. It's just, you drop it and the sound delays and it just goes. I love that so much. Sorry, I absolutely love that moment in this episode. But yeah, you're right. I'm really curious to see how this all kind of pans out. And obviously, we're talking about Mandalorian characters that appeared in other Star Wars media recently. There is a frame in the Bad Batch trailer where you can see Fennec Shand as well. So it's great to see, Ming-Na Wen's character getting more exploration there.
Yeah.
And it leads me to believe as well that she's going to take a more pivotal role going forward.
I hope so, because it feels like this is the teeing off point for these characters to become. It's weird. It feels like I'm talking wrestling here. It's like you put the little known people with say like a bigger person, and then its exposure, like sort of that thing. I think Din Djarin, especially in Boba Fett and Cara Dune, or like they all resonate sort of popularity, and if just characters being around them is just going to help them grow and help them spin off to or jump off to have their own shows, like say whoever's in the Rangers of the Union Republic. And I just think it's perfectly made for them to sort of like go off in that way. I'm thinking more like we need to get Din Djarin another ship before Boba is off somewhere. So I think we get a bit more Boba next season. I think that's my prediction, and I think it's weird because someone's got. Do you think someone's got to die next episode to make it sort of like to bring the stakes up? Because we've not really had any major humanoid.
Yeah,
I feel like die yet.
Obviously, there was IG-11, but I mean, I think I don't know. I'm so endeared to most of this cast of characters now. That I'd be very upset if someone were to kick the bucket. And again, talking about, I guess, that's the other thing as well, in terms of what Disney showed off yesterday. Obviously, we all know that The Mandalorian Season 3 is happening, and, all the reports are saying that it's currently, in production or whatever. It was strangely absent from yesterday's thing. And we obviously got Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka coming, which leads me to believe that something truly terrifying is going to happen next week. I don't know what, but the fact that it was so conspicuously absent, all we got was the sizzle reel of season 2 moments we've seen so far. So I'm very excited and apprehensive about what might be coming our way next week, because they didn't reveal much of Rangers, and obviously we know that the Ahsoka spinoff was pretty much spelled out for us in chapter 13, where it was like, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? We can all obviously assume that will spin off into Star Wars Rebels sequel animated series that has obviously been rumored for a while now as well, but we don't know what the plot of Rangers is yet. And I'm getting more and more. The more I'm talking about this, the more like fear is generating right now, and I'm worried. The more I talk about it, the more it'll manifest, because I don't want something terrible to happen. But again, I thought, I imagine something so big will happen next week, and that is the reason why they couldn't really talk much about Mandalorian season 3. Maybe, I don't know. They could have just dropped an announcement saying it's coming, but
if you're gonna kill Moff Gideon off, Grogu gets free. He's about to kill Din Djarin, and then Grogu does unlimited power to Moff Gideon and just destroys
in baby speak,
just force lightning
blah, blah, blah.
to nothing, sort of thing. But it's weird because I wanted to do a massive like U-turn and go back to like Din, because I feel like I like how much we've gone from I will never take off this to I will lift it up to have a drink to being around other Mandalorians. And now accepting that maybe the helmet thing isn't so important.
Maybe I was radicalized as a child. Maybe.
maybe that I was a bit wrong, but it's, and this just having exposure to a few different Mandalorians. I feel like even like on a viewer term, like I could totally accept him taking his helmet off and be like a bit more fun. Like that episode where we got to see Pedro Pascal's face and let him do some facial acting. Like, you know, it was nice. It was nice to
It's
see.
great. That bit when he had the shake of his head right now, when Mig starts poking the Imperial officer, and he just kind of looks at him and just goes like that. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I can't. I definitely think that's where it's going to go. And you know, I assume that when Bo-Katan returns, he'll feel ready to take his his helmet off potentially. We still don't know. We still have so many different plot points left to resolve. There's the Darksaber. We know Din has the Beskar spear now. It seems as though he's going to duel Moff Gideon. I feel as though that's the only reason why you give that weapon to Din is, you show that it's capable of fending off lightsaber attacks, and he'll,
Can I also ask you, in Star Wars, what do you think the logic is for a vehicle not being a floating speeder? Why do you think vehicles don't float? Like, what's the reason there?
Durability, I'm guessing. It's something to do with the fact that maybe hovercraft are slightly more susceptible to breaking down or whatever. Maybe that's the reason why. I will say, to talk about that heist action sequence, because I really liked it. It was like a classic train robbery. I loved the moment where Din puts his arm up to try and block the attack from the spear, and his piece of crap Imperial armor just breaks apart. It's just to show how shoddy and cheap the Empire are. I loved that moment loads. Not much else to say there. I just thought it was a great moment.
That whole chase was done well, because right away, so like from the trucks, I'm gonna call them trucks, exploding off in the distance in front, like you didn't see them, you just saw explosions come up from the jungle. That sort of set an ominous tone straight away, like that. That almost made like the chase enough to be like sort of substance enough for this episode, and then from where we go into a nice little sit down scene, like just kept sort of ramping up in different ways, or ramping down, if you would, like have you like going from the highs of the chase down to sort of like the tension of the conversation, which is something that I like the exploring. But yeah, that chase, not to just like gushing, but like I feel like it just set up so well, and it almost felt like something you don't show the monster, you don't show what's happening, and then it turns out to be a couple of rowdy lads on a speeder, and then just a couple same rowdy lads but standing in a different combination, and then they're just wearing different tops afterwards. But yeah, it kind of worked. It was also like with things like, it's nice to see the shore troopers again out of a Rogue One.
That was cool. I enjoyed that a lot. I thought that was great to see it, and it also in a way illustrates how the Empire is short of resources. Not all of them are in the shiny new Imperial armor. They've got to still bust out the old classic shore trooper look, which is interesting in and of itself. So
predictions for next episode really is like, when Din and Moff Gideon collide, does Moff Gideon get it in the? Does he go? Does he get it put in the ground?
This is a thing, right? And it's a testament to Giancarlo Esposito's abilities as like a character actor, because even when he has nothing to do, he can totally sell you on a character's unspoken history, their intimidation, their presence, whatever. He is a fantastic presence on screen. And Moff Gideon, even if he was killed off right now, he would still be a great Star Wars villain based on what we've seen of him. But equally, I will be very miffed if they kill him off next week, solely because we know nothing about him other than that he faked his death and came back and is now involved in a plot to steal midichlorian blood and siphon it off to some other scheme or somewhere. And I need to know more about him. I want to know what his connection is to Bo-Katan, because obviously I want to know how he got the Darksaber. Did he beat her in rightful combat and take it that way, or did he steal it? Did Thrawn give it to him? Did whatever? There are so many questions left to be answered right now. And given, I think we don't know how many seasons of The Mandalorian there are going to be. But you would hope that Gideon becomes a recurring character and foil for Din Djarin. I don't want him to kick the bucket so early on.
I think because we're placed in such a like we're not placed like the Rogue One, so someone like Krennic had to die. Like all these characters, where were they? So it's always the Star Wars thing of where were these characters, and they're all there. Like sort of where was Mace Windu? Well, he got melted. But this having it set here because there's so much time between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Half of this lot would be in retirement age by the time The Force Awakens happens anyway.
Yeah.
So it's you can get around it like that, and I feel like there's real scope for this character. There's real scope for a lot of them, to be fair. Like I feel like more so than anything, out of all of the new Star Wars, like there's been more sort of like it feels like thought and sort of like love and care going into these than like say the main cast of the new trilogy in a way. Like it's really weird how in such a short space of time I feel like I'm more attached to these characters than some of the others in certain ways. But yeah, like for example, like Moff Gideon for me is been more impactful than anyone in the First Order. Like I can't remember who was it we brought in for 10 minutes in Rise of Skywalker just to be.
Oh, Admiral Pride, Richard E. Grant's completely throwaway character.
Yeah, just like Pride for a bit there, sort of thing. Like that's how not to do it. Even with was it Richard Blake's character where he was just like another naughty, like sort of
he was great. Honestly, he was
proud of Operation Cinder and stuff like that. Like,
he was the best. He was the best performance in that episode, I thought, because he just sold all the unspoken or unseen history, for a lot of people here at the Empire, which I thought was great. But yeah, just to kind of end this chat, where do you see? We're talking about Mando going up against Moff Gideon.
Yes.
Next week. It might be too far to look ahead, but oh my God, he's gone dark.
I've gone.
He's gone. He's completely vanished away. It's like that bit in The Empire Strikes Back when Luke Skywalker takes off in the X-Wing, and then it goes real dark for a bit. And he's come back. People who are listening on audio platforms won't know this, but Ben-Roy's lights just completely went out, and I was left there like Ghost Obi-Wan talking to Yoda about how there is another. But
in the bunker I am at the moment, the motion sensors didn't pick me up, so there we go.
But yeah, I guess we could end it there. I was going to ask a question about where we think this is going, but we've kind of already covered it in terms of the duel between Din Djarin and Gideon. How we think Boba's going to come into play, how we think Fennec's going to come into play, how we think, we know that Greef and Cara Dune will be along for the ride as well. And we're fingers crossed that Bo-Katan and her Mandalorian clan come into this too. There are so many questions left to be answered. And obviously, the Mandalorian's universe keeps on getting bigger. We have the Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka. And it's, just a crazy good time to be a Star Wars fan, am I right?
Yeah, and I'm going to say I think this should end on a darker note, and this should be like if we let's end this series on like say Din Djarin's going to have to get something accomplished whenever we get the next series of Mando. That or Paul Moff Gideon is going to get lightning to death by Grogu.
I think I'd love to see that, but yeah, let us know what you thought of The Mandalorian chapter 15. It is chapter 15, The Believer, down in the comments below, or reach out to us with your thoughts on social media at What Culture Star Wars. And also remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, and head over to What Culture Star Wars on YouTube, because if you didn't know already, there's a lot more Star Wars coming, and we want to be there with you every single step of the way. If you want to find more of me on Twitter, you can do at Ewan Ruins Things, and you can find more of Ben-Roy on Twitter at
Ben-Roy Turner.
But that is all for now. Have a great day, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Goodbye there.